what makes you feel the most vulnerable?
So many things, but one thing that comes to mind is when I share new parts of my story on social media, because I never know how the community, the public, is going to receive it. And so I'm an anxious girly, I'm an anxious therapist, and so that always makes me feel vulnerable. But I embrace it because I know that it's a calling, and if it feels right for me, then it's the right thing to do.
I'm usually all in on authenticity, real and raw. Like, I do not do multiple takes on this podcast, but whatever I just recorded was too long for me to put you through. So I'm here to say hello again. I am really excited for this episode. I get so excited when I have experts that come on the podcast. It means so much to me as a mental health advocate. I can sit here and I can advocate for what I think is important, but it is people like Adriana, who is on today, that are doing the real work, who are living and breathing, healing others. And it's really an honor for me to be able to sit here and learn from her and speak with her. She and I have worked together a couple of times in the past. I interviewed her for Instagram Live for Sephora during the pandemic. And then we also spoke on a panel together at the end of last year. And she just always blows me away, honestly. She really has been like such an exciting part of my mental health advocacy because I admire the work she does so much. So to have her here on my podcast feels very full circle. I think y'all are really going to enjoy her because she always comes with things, tangible things that you can kind of take away from the conversation that feel very helpful. And she also always comes with a lot of vulnerability. Like, she's willing to talk about her own life experience, along with like giving advice and professionalism and all of that. So that's my guest today. I know you're going to love her. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. My brain is like a big mush this morning, I think because I forgot to drink my smoothie. So I have no brain food at the moment. Which is why I recorded a far too long intro and then did this again for your sake. You're welcome. But I'm doing good. I'm feeling very grateful, like I said, to have a guest like this coming on. And I think what I'm recognizing more and more with this podcast is that even in times of feeling like crap, whether it's like I have my period earlier this week or like I'm going through personal stuff and relationships or professional stuff, it's like this is such a safe place for me to come to and just kind of like recenter myself and just feel such good energy from the guests that I have on and the people that I have on set with me. And so thank you for being here and listening to this. And please always feel that you can comment while you're watching the episode and let me know what's resonating with you, what you might want to hear more of. Because I love hearing from you, and it means so much when I'm going into these to know and have in my head what all of us are kind of interested in. So I'm going to jump in, but I will see you at the end, and I hope you enjoy. We've had so many touch points with each other already, which I appreciate. Like, let's see, the first time we met, I think, was through Sephora, right? We did
the virtual. It was during the pandemic,
yes.
I think.
Yeah, we did an Instagram Live together where I think I interviewed you for Sephora's platform.
Yes.
Wow, that was a long time ago. It was during the pandemic. And then I just like fell in love and followed you since, and am so obsessed with everything that you do and the space that you create. And then our mutual connection, Vanessa Santos, through We All Grow Latinas. So running into you for that panel, I was just like,
I know.
It was so like kismet. But maybe before we jump in, I can have you quickly introduce yourself and just say a little bit about your business and what you do.
Yes. So Yeah, I'm Adriana Alejandre. Funny enough, my middle name is Alejandra. So a lot of people tend to not know, but call me Alejandra. But here in California, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I do specialize in trauma among the BIPOC community within teens and adults. I have my group practice here virtually and in Burbank in California. And then I also founded Latinx Therapy in 2018 now.
Wow.
Yeah, going on 7 years. And that's a national directory where folks can find a Latinx therapist nationwide. And it's also a bilingual podcast as well, and we use our social media platforms to advocate for mental health and continue breaking taboos all around. So
badass.
I dabble in a little bit.
Yeah, my gosh. That's why I was asking you about podcasting. I was like, I've seen you podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
but you've had a little bit of a break. And that's why. Mm-hmm. Yeah, understandably, with everything that you have on your plate and what you're building, and you just opened up a new space. Were you always in Burbank?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had a spot during, right before the pandemic hit by Portos.
Okay.
And then when the pandemic hit, I had to let go of that one because it was too expensive. And I moved by San Fernando Road, the railroad tracks next to the airport, basically.
Yeah.
And our lease expired, basically. So we moved here by IKEA.
Even more kismet. You're in Burbank, too.
Yeah.
I love it in Burbank.
It's great.
That is so... first of all, thank you for all the work that you do in this space. I think every time I get an opportunity to speak with you or speak alongside you, it just brings me such joy to be with a true expert, a true professional in this space. And it means so much to have you come onto the podcast for that exact reason, because I think there's a lot of conversation about mental health. It's become so mainstream, which is amazing for awareness. That is first, right?
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of people telling you what to do and what not to do.
Mm.
And a lot of brands using it for marketing. Again, no hate, there's awareness, but I think it's so important that we continue to turn back to the experts, to the trained professionals, so that we can get the information from the right sources and make sure we're sharing that out as well. And we have all kinds of people on this podcast. I have all kinds of people, but it's really important to have people like you who can ground us again back into the topic. How did you, all the times that we've worked together now, well, the couple of times we worked together, I don't think I've even gotten the chance to ask you. So this is new to me too. How did you enter this space?
I entered it by accident. I was kind of in a survival response, just trying to get into a major. And I'll backtrack a little bit. So, in high school, straight A students, since kindergarten, I was told I'm supposed to go to college. And so that was my path. So, and I can't say straight A, but I was, up there in grades. And so,
own it.
I got into UC Santa Barbara. My parents, very religious, strict Catholic parents. And so they were thrilled for me. I went to UC Santa Barbara, and in my first year, I ended up getting pregnant. And as soon as I got pregnant, basically I knew I was going to become a single mom.
Okay.
And so my parents were severely disappointed. It was just,
what an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, my mental health was definitely challenged at its peak at that time. And it was a really difficult time because I was almost on academic probation. I wasn't doing well because the way that schools here don't prep you as well for college standards.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was just completely different studying wise. And, I was in a toxic relationship, and now I was pregnant, my first breakup, disappointing my parents. Was I going to continue with school? There was just so much up in the air.
That sounds heavy.
Yeah. And so I was living over there, and I think during the summer, actually, I ended up having my son back here, but I continued to go to community college classes. Even the students were like, weren't you just pregnant? And I was like, yeah, I had him last week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I was just so this isn't going to, take me away from any of my dreams. I want to be the one that helps my parents, because we're from a low socioeconomic household. My parents didn't have much growing up. while we were growing up. And so I wanted to definitely be the first one in college to succeed. So thankfully, they ultimately accepted my pregnancy, my son, and I was able to return the next semester. And just becoming a mother just fueled me into doing everything I needed to do to get on track, finish with my class, get better grades. And sure enough, that's what I did. But I was struggling with undiagnosed postpartum depression during all that time.
I know how common that is.
Yeah. And you know, college students are already at risk. They ages 18 to 24 years old, and the elderly population, ages 65 plus, are the ones that struggle with mental health challenges the most. And so, sorry, parched. And so at that time, I had a professor that suggested to me to go to the college center after I reached out for office hours. And at that college center, I felt really good talking about my family, but I also got into huge trouble for getting pregnant, and then also for telling my best friend's mom, that I was pregnant, because she was the first one I told.
Okay.
And my mom was not happy with that.
Okay, gotcha.
And she's like, you don't air out our dirty laundry. The secrets, you know, are kept here. We're supposed to solve problems as a familia.
I mean, that in itself, like our dirty laundry, our secrets, like all of this just adding to the weight on your shoulders.
So I couldn't stay in therapy because I just felt guilty the whole time.
Wow.
But that's when I was like, maybe psychology. And so, yeah, I ended up getting barely into the psychology major. And I was just like, well, I guess I could become a therapist. It wasn't out of passion at first at all. I found the passion for it later.
Yeah.
It was just truly out of survival. Like, I need to choose a major, because this would have been my third one that I wouldn't have gotten into.
And wonder if like there was something subconscious there, like being that you were going through such a hard time and something that you wanted or needed.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really get. And so you maybe gravitated towards it subconsciously.
I think so. I mean, when I remember the feeling of when I was in the intro to psychology class, and I was like, I understand this. Like, this is my community right here. Like my neighborhood, people at school, like I see things that I don't think I could unsee going forward. And I was so curious about human behavior from that point on.
Yeah, it is so interesting. I like, in retrospect, and I look back, I'm like, well, I wish I would have thought about doing this. It obviously wasn't my purpose or my direction, but it just seems like such a powerful space to be in, but also really emotionally complex, because this is, you know, one thing that my therapist even has said to me in the past. It's like every therapist is just another human being doing their best. And like, you know, they're trained and they have the information to come into the space and like set that aside and focus on you. But while you are going through all of that in your life and raising your son and having all of those pressures put on your shoulders, that had to have been hard to kind of separate and like focus in.
Yeah. Well, I think I graduated when he was 2 years old.
Wow.
And then when he was 3.
You got through the program quickly then.
Yeah. I wasn't kidding.
Oh my gosh.
So during summers, I would work as a lifeguard and a swim instructor, like even doing private parties. And I would also go to like take a class at community college to get ahead so that I could finish on time. And so I didn't miss out on much academically.
You know what's really cool that you said is that becoming a mom actually made you work so much harder and faster through all of this, where I think I'm even guilty of this, and I feel it sometimes. I'm like, oh gosh, if I become a mother, like, is it going to take away from my purpose, or is it going to take away from what the goals I'm trying to reach? And like, it can light a fire in you. Like, you just never know. And truly, like, even on a baseline, sometimes the busiest weeks you get the most done.
Yeah.
As long as you can find that time for yourself. Are you able to find that time for yourself ever?
I mean, my life has changed so much from when I was like 19 to almost 35 now, you know? And so, yeah, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it without my family support, because I did not know what I was doing at all. But yeah, definitely now, you know, it's kind of really cool that, I mean, I don't promote this, but like that I became such a young parent. Now I have so much free time because my kid is almost 15 and I have a lot of self-care time.
Yes.
You know, there's been a lot of benefits, but of course there were also mental health repercussions because I had to leave him back home while I finished school when I had my classes. And so that distance made it harder for attachment, you know, and bonding connection.
I wonder if did any of those experiences though help fuel your work with your clients? Like,
Yeah.
I would imagine that life experience plays a big part in being able to provide the kind of help you do.
You know, our graduate programs typically tell us like, whatever you're going through, you have to put it aside. You know, they basically want us to, or wanted us, at least when I was trained, to be like very textbook, a blank slate. But truly what you're saying is right, that our lived experiences make us a better therapist in those areas as long as we're able to, you know, talk about it with clients and hear about it with them. So yeah, I do think that it's definitely helped me become a better mental health professional for my clients and the community overall within the work that I do. I mean, experiences are experiences. They definitely help us.
Okay, you've said that, I think you said you focus in a lot on trauma specifically. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of like your passion, the area of passion for you?
It is, yeah.
Can you expand on that? Like, what kind of work does that look like?
What kind of work does that look like? So there's all sorts of levels, and I think I'm very gravitated towards it because it's something that generationally my family has experienced on my maternal side. Mm-hmm. So I think ever since, even before I became a therapist, before I got into the graduate program, like I was just like, if I'm going into psychology, I want to help domestic violence survivors. I want to help sexual assault survivors. You know, everything kind of under the sun. And then at that point, that must have been around 2000. Well, I graduated from my program 2015. And I think around that time, we were also seeing mass shootings. And in 2017 was the Route 91 from Las Vegas, which had folks from all over the country. And I had an office in Porter Ranch, California. And I had a lot of survivors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at that time as well. And so, you know, I was just, not to sound cocky, but just very natural at doing kind of this psychological first aid for that.
You were thrown into it kind of just because of the area you were in.
Yeah. I think a lot of mental health professionals were likely thrown in because again, like it was such a high scale event. And so I ran support groups. I created my own curriculum for the support groups. I was trained in something called EMDR at that time.
Love.
Yes, I know, since 2016. So
that's done so much for me.
Yeah, I blended it with my clients.
Wow, you've been doing this since 2016.
EMDR specifically, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I don't know when it started to come into practice, but
the 80s.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. New York.
Far before I knew about it, for sure. But it seems I'm hearing a lot more people recently talking about it. So I don't know if there's like a resurgence, that and parts work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, please continue. Sorry.
No, yeah. I mean, we could go into that area too, but you know, I think just as a side note, with every single theory and practice, it takes many years because of the research that they have to do to prove that it's effective with certain populations. And so, yeah, I think now there's been a wave of people that have undergone therapy with those modalities and can talk about it. And with the reach of social media, it expands, you know, the knowledge base about these therapies. But yeah, I think in regards to trauma, it's a little bit of like my lineage and then just kind of being natural. And with all the recent immigration raids going on and the Altadena fires that we experienced in January, and not just Altadena, but the Palisades, the Hearst fire in Selmar as well. But I just see gaps, and I could jump in and I could see like, oh, this is what my community needs. And I have the capacity for it. I have the time for it. And so go into it. So I lately with these recent disasters, I've been thinking like I really feel like a calling from my ancestors that my lineages were likely first aid responders or just some of the first responders. Maybe in Guatemala, most likely in Guatemala. I don't know about my Mexican side.
I love that.
Yeah.
I definitely have felt a pull towards the maternal side of my generational trauma on my mom's side as well, and have been unpacking that for a few years now. My great-great-grandmother was institutionalized against her will by my great-great-grandfather. And there was a lot of abuse that happened, and she really had to advocate for herself because in those days, there was no advocating for yourself as a woman. And miraculously, she was able to get out of the institution and go back home. But, back home to him, he hired 3 nurses. They locked her in her room. He had an affair with one of them. Like, I found all of these letters from her through just a wild series of events going through my grandma's home. And it just, once you start to unravel that for yourself and your family, all of these like ahas start to happen, I think, in your personal and your professional life.
Yeah.
As it was for me. And it sounds like for you too, in very different ways. But like, it kind of, as horrible as it feels to dive into that, it also kind of feels good because then you start to heal that and you start to like feel that impact energetically in yourself and recognize the fact that for the future generations of your family, that won't be as prevalent or as easily passed on. I think a lot of people hear generational trauma and they can think that it's very woo-woo, and it's really not. It can be truly just the lived experience that you're in, being taught and then being taught again, being taught again. And then it can also be woo-woo, but
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into this, and there's research articles specifically within like the sexual assault survivors that shares that about 80% of the survivors will be re-victimized, and I think that, re-victimization among lineages is very strong, especially in families where there's a lot of stigma and taboo. If we don't talk about this, we don't learn about it. We don't know who, is the perpetrator, who to look out for. And this happens a lot in many marginalized communities.
Yeah. My gosh, absolutely. So important for us to talk about. That's why I'm like, with social media and as mental health relates to social media and creating awareness, like sometimes you see some stuff out there and you're like, I don't know if this is necessarily good, but you got to take some of the bad with the good, being that at least people are talking about it. Like every podcast you listen to, there's advertisements about mental health, and it didn't used to be that way. And for a while, I thought to myself, like, do I need to be like advocating for this, talking about it in the beauty industry? Like, it seems to be all over the place. And I took a step back and I looked at some of my friends and family who are really struggling and still can't ask for help. And it's like, okay, this is very mainstream, but it's not destigmatized. It's not fully comfortable yet. So thank you for talking about it. How are your feelings as it relates to social media? How you use it for what the work you're doing, but also how you use it and people use it as individuals?
Well, social media has evolved quite a bit since I started in 2017. And there's so many, it's like very overstimulating. Like my feelings is I'm overstimulated.
Yeah. It's like, kind of, where do you even start with that question? Because it's like, but then this. I can go in circles.
Yeah, the ping pong brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as a creator, the algorithm is just so frustrating. I just want to vent that out.
Yeah.
But in general, when it comes to mental health, I do err on the side of what you were just stating, in that it's a good thing for people to share their stories. I want people to know that when they're about to share their stories, if they're not in therapy or if they're not actively in their healing space, that they may experience flashbacks, they may experience resurfacing of past symptoms that they experienced during the trauma or traumas. And so I hope that people create kind of like a mental health plan for themselves after they share. And I know that a lot of people feel good when they share because they get connected to a lot of other people who experience the same thing. But nonetheless, you're always going to have that alone time outside of social media. And that's when the resurfacing of symptoms tends to come up from your lived experience. So I think I think overall, I wish survivors would have that plan for themselves if that feels right. Like kind of like I'm going to take care of myself after this big revelation. And disclaimers probably because there's some people that aren't ready to hear about certain topics that they've lived through.
I really appreciate you saying that. I think one of the guests I've had on the podcast before, it was like there's a difference between sharing from a place of something that's healed and sharing from a place of something that's still a wound.
Yeah.
And it can feel very different. But what I think was really powerful for me, and this isn't true for everyone, was that when I started to talk about my depression on my platforms, it helped heal me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at that point, I was in therapy. I did have a lot of support around me. And so I did kind of have a plan, and I was actively thinking about, I'm sharing this because I want to create awareness and because I'm frustrated with what I went through and like not getting help sooner and all of these things. But I think there's probably a lot of vulnerable people out there that are feeling really low and thinking like, oh, should I share this for this reason or this reason? And it might not be for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And just because like people see others doing it doesn't mean that it's necessarily what they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's amazing that there are people who are out there that are willing to talk about this and talk about their own experiences as well, but it's not everyone's responsibility.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into that. And for myself, I resonate with that in the sense of like, I don't share about parts of my story if it's not something that I've worked through just yet.
Yeah.
Because it's too vulnerable. Things that other people are going to say about it, whether positive or negative, is going to affect me. And I'm such a softie that I'll cry.
Yeah.
And crying is just fine, but I'll cry like in the sense that hurt me.
Yeah.
And I want to come from a place of like, once I share this, like, doesn't matter what you'll say, cool, appreciate it, but nothing you can say can change how I've healed that and how that's in the past already. So
that's a really good thought process to have, is sit in that and think about think about if I receive either negative or positive feedback about this subject, like, will it rock me? Like, am I at a place yet where I can share from this vulnerability? I had a question for you. I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like, and I'm sure it's true for you, being that you are a therapist, just about everyone I feel like that is around me is feeling the weight of the world right now. It feels like everything feels so heavy, whether it is economic or political or personal or professional. There is a lot being thrown at everyone at the moment. And I am seeing a lot of people really struggling in one way or another, because once things start to feel heavy, you kind of just, you keep losing that ability to kind of pick yourself back up. And you've spoken about working in trauma specifically for so long, and that being such a heavy space to work in, whilst also living in the world that we all do and having your own issues and your own problems come through. Like, are there any specific tools that help you kind of pull yourself out of that darkness when, whether it's a client that you're working with has kind of just pulled you down a little bit, not intentionally, but of course you're holding space for that, or our world does in general?
what comes up immediately is collective care.
Okay.
I cannot do anything on the personal or professional basis without anyone else. And I mean that in the sense of like, so professionally, when there's a difficult conversation. And so my mom passed away almost 3 years ago.
I remember your mom passed away right before we were working together.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Because
yes.
I think we had a meeting or something.
We were going to do a
yes.
a
Oh,
live-
that just gave me the chills to think
Yes.
about.
It was sudden.
And I can't remember specifically what you said in the email when you sent us all an email that it had happened, but I lost my mom when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And something that you had said in the email just resonated so deeply with me. But yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
I can't
thank
believe
you.
it's been 3 years.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was working with a lot of clients that had a lot of trauma, and specifically with their moms.
Interesting.
Some that had lost their moms or grieving their moms,
Yeah.
and some, that just had challenging, maybe estranged relationships. Everything under the sun in regards to moms. And because it was connected to trauma, I couldn't just leave them. But they allowed me, and we talked about this. It was the right thing to do for me to take a short break.
Sure.
But I didn't feel like it would be the responsible thing for me to, say, hey, I need the year off or anything like that. 6 months. It was very much just until we did all the religious stuff and the services. So let's say 2 months. And then we came back, but with the intention that I would take an actual bereavement break from our work. So not leaving them kind of cold turkey, just getting them to a place where they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had to be in consultation services with other folks, like just on a professional basis, to process what it was that I was going through as I was hearing, everything from my clients. That was on the professional side. And then on the personal side, of course, a lot of somatic body-based work, because I definitely feel the stress of my experiences in my body. I'm very attuned to that. And then my own therapy as well, when I had capacity for that. And so to your question, like, how is it that I navigate trauma in the professional, personal space? Like, just truly collective care and somatic body-based work. And I did it as a form of prevention, which I think is just, looking back, like, was really cool and good. That
Before it happened, before your mom passed?
I think, while she was passing and when she passed, I was just so like on
In
her,
it,
like,
yeah.
in it. But right after, like immediately, it was almost like from a dissociated self where I was just calling to make my massage appointments. I couldn't feel anything in my body, but I was like, I know this is going to be good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I think it was, because I'm a natural clencher. I'm a natural, like, gripper.
Me
And so
too.
I all of that helped to minimize and help me stay aware of my body. Acupuncture, like, I did a lot of different things, even though I feel like at the time I supposedly didn't need it. It was necessary.
You kind of intuitively knew.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like. Yeah, I'm the same way. At one point I was clenching and grinding my jaw and teeth so bad, like I basically had to go onto a liquid diet, just with how bad my anxiety was. This was years ago, but like, it's so alarming what manifests physically in the body from your internal experience.
Yeah.
And I think some people get that a little bit more than others. I'm definitely a body person as well. Breath work is something that is a game changer for me. I did it this morning. I woke up a little like zingy this morning. I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good. I got to like set in for a minute and like breathe. And eventually you can find yourself back in your body, but it's very easy to kind of go through life feeling unconscious and not really present. And if you can't be in your own skin, it's hard to know if you're okay or what's going on.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
really helpful. I think community work in general as well. As soon as you said community, I was like, I think that's so important to talk about. We're all kind of so isolated, especially post-pandemic, like even more than we were before, I think. And social media can bring you together in these, like, I don't know if the right word is artificial kind of ways, because there is some very clear connection that happens through social and digital platforms. But there's something incredibly powerful also about just community and being with other people, and even getting a massage and being touched by another person, if that's what works for you. I know that is so helpful for me. So yeah, thank you for that. I just, I'm interested to see where mental health moves through the beauty space. And I know you've kind of touched on that a couple times with me in the past. Have you noticed any changes in that kind of atmosphere?
I think what I've noticed is that a lot of beauty spaces are inviting mental health creators and mental health stories in general
Yeah.
into their lines.
Mm.
And I think that's definitely necessary because over time, I mean, we've seen how specifically makeup, skincare, it's such a grounding experience moment for a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of makes sense to embrace mental health in that field. So many folks also struggle with their body image and self-esteem. And so yeah, I think what I've noticed is overall like a new collective of mental health advocacy within the beauty space.
Yeah, Rare Beauty by Selena Gomez really, I think, forged the way for that. And the Rare Impact Fund is so powerful with what they're doing. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you can look at it and be like, okay, like the shade names are affirmations, like big deal. But it's truly like those reminders and that awareness in your beauty routine telling you and reminding you that it's not about what you look like on the outside. It's about how this makes you feel on the inside. And I always talk about beauty as it relates to the source. It's so important for your beauty routine to represent the source of what beauty means to you inside. If you are using makeup as a self-expression, that's beautiful. If you're using skincare as a ritual, that's beautiful. If you're using those things to cover or hide or conform or anything like that, it can be detrimental. So I think the more that the industry talks about mental health as it relates to beauty, the more we can just have those reminders and check in with ourselves and be like, okay, where is this coming from? Why am I using this? Why do I feel like it's necessary? Is it for me, or am I just watching a creator who, has unrealistic beauty standards that I feel like I'm absorbing or something like that? And so I've been really excited to see where the industry is going. And I'm very grateful for people like you who will dip your toe in and have these conversations and educate a little bit more. So thank you so much for coming on and doing this. It means the world. It's been so special to me to have you on my personal journey. I don't know if you know this, but the touch points I've had with you have been truly some of the most like impactful touch points I've had professionally. And with my mental health advocacy. So it means a lot to get to sit next to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I remember the stage that we shared for We All Grow, and I think you shared that was your first time.
That was not my first time speaking. I think that was my first time getting that vulnerable, though.
Okay.
Like
it was your first time of something, and I can't remember.
No, that's okay. I have spoken to mental health quite a bit. Like I did Rare Beauty's mental health summit and some digital boundary summits and things like that. But this time, like I really got very personal, and it felt very good. And I think that's kind of goes back to what we were talking about, where I was a little further into my healing journey and I could really share from more of a healed place than like a wound. And so I was able to dig a little bit deeper. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And so if it's all right with you to conclude, I'd love to do like a few seconds of a technique.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You've probably may have heard of it. It's called the butterfly hug.
Okay.
No? Okay, good.
I don't think so. No.
Okay, so it's the butterfly hug uses left and right movement like EMDR to help us get connected to our nervous system and just kind of help us pause in the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and get in position. You're already in a perfect position.
Okay.
And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to cross our arms and place our hands anywhere on your upper body where you feel safe, comfortable. So for me, it's going to be on my outer arms.
Okay.
For some people, it's on the chest, above the shoulders. And we're going to just release our breath and go ahead and begin with just some slow breathing. And so my breath is going to sound a little different because I'm speaking, but go ahead and get into a relaxed position. And what we're going to do as you're breathing is just lower your eye gaze or close your eyes and begin tapping one hand at a time. Tap, 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 tap. Slowing down your hands, staying very present with yourself, and slowing your breath. and we can just hug it out with the little butterfly. This is just a little sample of the butterfly hug for time's sake.
I love the
But
name
I
of it.
invite you and your audience to give this a try, especially when you're having difficulty sleeping or when you're just feeling a little too anxious too fast. You could get grounded. Just remind yourself that, you're here with yourself.
Yeah. Brings you back to that present moment.
Exactly. You might feel like your hands are going fast sometimes and just
Mine were. So I appreciated that you said slow because I was like, oh, yeah, slow. And then slowed with my breath.
it happens.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. This was so wonderful. So cute. Look at how cute she is.
Podcast, so I was a guest. They gave me these beautiful flowers, and I believe the episode is going to come out in
Our guest we
sometime in
just
May,
filmed
so I'll let you
with.
all know. But now I'm on my way to my house because I have a 10 o'clock EMDR consultation, and then it's back to admin work because it's been a bit. All right.
Oh my gosh, she's so awesome. Like the way that this woman could literally just do everything, I'm like in awe. She is a trauma therapist. She's a consultant. She runs the Latinx Therapy group. She's a mom. She's a public speaker. She just told me when she was on her way out that she's on I forget the terminology she used, but on the consulting board for Rare Beauty's mental health Rare Impact Fund, and she's going to be moderating a conversation for their event in Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm just like in full awe of her, and I'm so excited that she was able to come and do this with such a busy schedule because we have worked together a couple times in the past through Sephora, through We All Grow Latina, which is a mutual connections of ours organization. And speaking alongside her has just been, I told her at the end of this episode, it's just been like such a high moment for me in my mental health advocacy because to have the honor of sitting next to someone who is a true professional, a trained expert, and walks and talks this work every single day, who has devoted herself and her career and her purpose to this work is just so powerful and so inspirational. It's a facet of my life that I'm really passionate about, but it's people like her in our world that are creating like such beautiful change and such necessary resources. So I'm just very grateful that she was willing to come onto the podcast and to have these conversations. I think one thing that I brought up while we were chatting is just how heavy the world has been feeling lately. And her being a trauma therapist, I'm like, girl, how do you lift any of that weight for yourself? So she's like here to share some tips that she uses personally, that she uses professionally. She showed us a really cool butterfly hug, which is just kind of a grounding exercise that she used at the end that I have actually not heard of. It's a little bit of like the EMDR tapping and breathing, but I definitely felt centered at the end of it. And I might just start using that before each time I film this because I do my breath work in the morning, and I need that and I love that, but there's so much that happens between the breath work in the morning to actually filming and getting everything set up and coordinated and filling the cards in the camera and making the batteries are good. It's, I have Brandon here running my production, but it's just the two of us. And it's something that I love about my podcast is that it is really intimate. And I really don't know if I would have it any other way, maybe one day. But it does require a lot of mind power. So something like the little butterfly hug process that she showed us would be so good to do each time before I'm filming. But yeah, I really hope that you enjoy this episode. She brings a lot to the table. She's created such a beautiful community online and a resource online, in addition to all of the work that she does. And I think the thing that I find most powerful about her is how she not only will speak to vulnerability as it relates to her profession and the advice that she's giving, but also to her personally. She will share her own vulnerability. She will share her own story. And I think that context just makes it all that more impactful and powerful. So I really hope that you all love this episode. I know I did. I really get to hope that I get to work alongside and speak alongside her again in the future. All of the podcast things, please give me a like, leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions for her. If you would like any more similar conversations to this, you can leave a review for the podcast on Spotify. It's really helpful. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.